It starts with an itch and a tingle, and then it builds and expands. And suddenly, all at once, my legs won't let me stand. I scratch till my fingers go numb.
So, welcome back everybody to this episode of Suicide Sucks. Now, this is the podcast where we speak openly and honestly about mental health, suicide, and the messy, beautiful reality of staying alive. I'm your host, Mick Rowe, and we are in the most beautiful setting. We are at Wentworth Woodhouse, and the sun is almost shining. There's blue sky, the birds are chirping outside, lots of green grass and gorgeous trees. As you know, I like to hug a tree. And Ozzy, yeah, you've guessed it, is fast asleep, as usual. Now, joining me today is Daz Cadwallander. He is a brilliant singer-songwriter who brings soul, truth and healing through music. And we're going to be talking about survival, creativity and how we rebuild after falling apart. Just to fill you in, we've both got a cup of tea today, and we've also got grapes and jam and cream biscuits, you know, a bit like Jammy Dodgers. And so far, Daz has enjoyed the grapes, but he's holding back on the biscuits. But maybe that's because he had... What did you have for breakfast?
I had chocolate hobnobs and a cup of tea this morning for breakfast. Breakfast of champions.
So, the breakfast of champions, yeah. Now, Daz grew up with violence and emotional abuse from his dad, and that pain's followed him into impulsive decisions, gambling, drink and drugs. And last August, he hit rock bottom, and he ended up in the Peak District, convinced that the world would be better off without him. But luckily for us, he was found, and he wants others to know that it does get better.
100%, 110%, a million percent.
A million percent,
Yeah.
I love it. So Daz, I don't know if you've heard any of the episodes previously, but I always start with the question, can you tell us about your darkest day or one of your darkest days?
Yeah, I can. So just quickly rewind from the August one. It wasn't as serious, but I did attempt to commit suicide probably 7 years previous. So it's something that I always struggled with mental health for a long time. And it was mainly around my dad and struggling to deal with that and sort of blaming myself. So that, I'd say there's 2 days. I'd say that day, I went out that day, got really drunk with friends and just decided to look at Google on train times, and my friend found me, luckily, and rang me away. And then I went and started speaking to Pathways through NHS, which is like a domestic violence counsellor, and they helped a lot. But last August, I sort of changed. I worked in recruitment, construction recruitment, for about 8 to 9 years. That sounded like 8 to 9. 8 to 9.
You're not that old,
8
no.
to 9 years. Progressed up the ranks there, did really well, become like an associate director, and then moved to another company and opened an office in Sheffield. But I soon realised that I'd fallen out of love with recruitment altogether. That was earning a good wage, and I've always been really impulsive, which I've found out now that's to do with the upbringing, and it's sort of people that go through abuse and child trauma tend to have impulsive personalities. Started getting into cryptocurrency, which is basically like the most scary, unsort of like facilitated way of gambling there is, and earning and also losing like thousands a day.
Oh my God.
I was drinking a lot. I wanted to just do music full time. I felt like I was becoming a burden on everyone, and that literally would have been better off without me. I always explain it as in my mind was sort of poisoned, and it was just like convincing me. This like devil on my shoulder was telling me that you'd be doing everyone a favour, and I just felt absolute rock bottom. And I sort of knew that morning that what I was going to do. It's the first time actually like sober, actually like leading up to it days before, we're thinking about committing suicide, and then I had it planned. I knew walking out the house that morning that I was going to try and do something, and yeah, it was horrible. I've never felt like that before. Unless you've been there, I think it's impossible to understand that feeling. It's like you're not even in your own body. It's like your soul's just been taken from you, and you just feel like, almost like you're pretty much already like dead, almost, and you just sort of. I see things people say like they died from suicide, but that's the cause of death. But that's actually a symptom of depression or other things. They haven't died of suicide. That is a symptom of things that people then go and attempt to commit suicide because they're in this mindset and state they've got into, which sometimes is just a build-up. Like if I'd have spoken openly about my life and wanting to change my life and the issue I was getting in with money and that I'd still thought about my past with my dad, there's no doubt that I'd have got through it. But I didn't.
You mentioned about 7 years before, so how old were you when you had those thoughts?
Probably longer actually than that, because I think I was about 21.
Right.
So it's probably about 9 years prior. And what it was is, what I found is, and I've really struggled with, is as I've got older and matured, thankfully, I think a little bit, I've started to understand and process what I went through as a kid more. So when I was like 16, 17, 18, I was fine. I felt like I was all right and it didn't really affect me. I used to go out with mates and I knew I had a bad upbringing, but it didn't really. It was when I started to really process what happened to me. I wanted to be a PE teacher, and I initially worked in a school after I finished university. And I worked in a school and there was a pastoral team there, and they sort of talked about what had happened to parents if they went through certain abuses, and my dad would have been like severe, like he'd have been in prison and he'd never seen us. So once I realised how bad it was, and that started to just constantly unravel in my head.
So it's like, at that time, it's almost like you thought that might be normal.
Yeah, it was difficult for me to, because that's why I feel sorry for children that go through trauma as they're growing older, because you're only here once, and when you're born and you've got your environment, that's all you've got. So that's all you know, if that makes sense. So I just thought it was normal until I was like teenage years, and I was like, this is not normal. And the only way we really got out of it is because I came back and like rebelled one day, and then I never lived with him again. But that's one thing I still struggle with, because he's never had any repercussions. Is like, if you go to Clare's Law, is squeaky clean. There's nothing on his record to say that is, you know.
Really?
It's quite scary, to be honest. Well, it is. It's like, if you don't laugh, you'll cry type of thing. It's just, it's scary.
And so, did you ever, oh my God, what's that word? Confront him?
Oh, what
as...
Well, like I said, I rebelled and got into like a fight with him, basically.
Right.
He was trying to beat me up, and I sort of took up for myself, and my little brother did. And then just left the house and never lived with him again. And we all sort of moved out from then.
Right.
Thankfully.
And do you have a relationship with him now?
No.
No.
No, I don't even know where he is.
Right, okay.
So it's like, that's what, the only thing what sort of, well, does sort of grind on me, that he's never had any justice served for what he's sort of done. I suppose people say, well, you don't get to see you growing up and doing well in life, and you don't get to see your grandkids, which I understand, which is true. So you can think about it that way, but...
Does your brother still see him?
My little brother does. No one else does.
Right.
But my little brother does.
And do you think your dad has any idea that how he behaved as a parent wasn't right?
Well, I'd hope so. But I think, like, the thing is about him is there comes a line where I think he's just evil, because it wasn't like he wasn't in control of what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. And you don't beat up a 4-year-old to the point where they're getting bruised. It's like criminal. You should have been in prison for it. It's just, and he did it to all of us. You know, I've got 3 siblings. So...
When you were 4?
Yeah, it's the first time I ever got it, when I was 4. He'd launched things across the room. My older brother told me that he's launched a biscuit tin across the room once. It smacked me in the nose. It like, I don't know if it broke it, because I've got a broken nose, but that busted all my nose, and then he'd run over and hit you. It's so bad that you'd like wee yourself. I used to wee myself as a kid, and he used to kick off all the time. So yeah, it just angers me that he's not had any repercussions ever in his life.
That's shocking. And I mean, obviously, age 4, you are literally going to grow up thinking that is how a parent treats you.
That is one thing that I would say about all my siblings, is that all of us aren't like him, in the sense that, you know, we work hard, we're good people. My sister's an amazing mum, my older brother's an amazing dad. They've got amazing kids and everyone's happy. So we've all had that, thankfully. All of us have said that. We want to do the opposite. We know it's wrong in life and be different to him, because it can go the other way. And like, people say, oh, were you abused? And I don't know. But it's not really an excuse, is it? You can't say, oh, I was, so that therefore I will become. It doesn't work like that. You've got your own decisions when you're an adult. Like, if I had kids, there's no way I'd probably be too soft. My girlfriend would have to be one that I'd have to discipline, because I'd be like, no, you do what you want, pal.
Yeah.
But
so you said that you kind of realised from the pastoral element when you were teaching, was it, that that kind of behaviour from a parent wasn't right, and that clearly you had been abused and mistreated. How did you process that? Did you just...
That's what I struggle with. I think that's what started me, depression, and then from there I sort of unravelled, even probably to do with that. Well, it's hard to... I saw a private psychologist and they sort of said that they think I had like OCD, but not OCD physically. I am a bit sort of over the top with things, but not massively. It was more to do with ruminating. And so because of my upbringing, they said that I was scared of losing people. So when I was in my early 20s, or when I first moved to Sheffield, like probably 23, something like that, I started recruitment at that point, and I was seeing someone, and it's like, looking back now, it was nothing, but I was like, in the head I was like, oh no, I've got to be with him for the rest of my life, and if I lose him, my life's over. And that was literally how black and white my head was. And it was like ruminators to reasons why that you were going to lose him, and it then become not only dealing with processing that, but also you'll never be good enough in your head, and always telling yourself that, but just coming up with reasons in your head why you're going to lose people in your life, but then coming up with this rumination of, no, there won't, because, and then this my OCD going round and round and round, and it was just become to a point where it then started to physically drain me, and I was getting anxious and just more depressed. So then that actually happened. No, that actually was happening probably early 20, when I was 21. Mm-hmm. So, because it did happen when I was the person then, and then that's when I first tried to attempt, and then I've actually been on and off medication since then. I've been a lot more open, but last year I've sort of managed the OCD in terms of like losing people. I'm not, because I'm now like, my girlfriend's amazing, and we're here 2 years, and I'm really happy in that department. But it was more the impulsivity and how it was affecting people around me, and I felt like I was a burden. That this time it was more, I'm not happy in my job, I can't get a way out, I've lost all my money. Maybe my dad was right, sort of thing. That's what my mind sort of convinced me. That I'm not worthy to be here. I'm a burden on people, and that's the sort of mindset I got into in August.
And that's very common, isn't it? That it's often, you know, there's lots of other shit that happens in your life, but actually it's ourselves and that internal chatter that can make us spiral downwards.
100%. It's so strange, because that's why I find mental health is so fragile, because I wasn't just constantly depressed throughout that 9 years in between. That's what I always say. It's like, people go, oh, you're doing so well. And I am now. I'm a lot happy, probably the happiest I've ever been, to be honest, thankfully. But it wasn't like I was always doom and gloom throughout that period. Something could happen, or my mindset could change, whether it was through drinking or drugs or whatever, which doesn't help when you're in that mindset anyway. That then made me spiral into this sort of negative mindset subconsciously. It wasn't like I've decided to wake up one morning and go, oh, let's be depressed. But it wasn't always in that 9 years like that. There was times where I was happy. And like my friends have said, you're the most positive person in the world when you're positive. But then that was the same person in last August that I was completely like, didn't say way out. But there is, I think talking is the biggest thing, like to talk about. If I'd have talked, it sounds so simple, but if I'd have talked, I was more scared about the repercussions of everyone like being so disappointed in me for losing money gambling and deciding to quit my job and the situations that I leave other people in, that I thought that was a way out, which just doesn't make any sense. But that's the mindset I was completely like in. I'd be better off.
So did anybody around you, were they aware that you'd got suicidal thoughts or
No.
depressed or no?
Not at all.
Right.
No. Because I was sort of masking it, because
Yeah.
I just started that new job this was 6 months in, I'd say. I was doing pretty well. I was like earning money. I'd set up a new office. I'd employed a new member of staff. I was training them up. I was like putting on this front every single day and just going, yeah, it's busy, but I'm all right. And, you know, I think that's what scares. And that's since I've come out of hospital and got better, that's what I really struggle with. And I think that's why I probably drank more, is to try and forget, like, what pain it's caused people that I love. So then it's like been an even worse feeling, because they've gone through hell and back because of what. But at the end of the day, they're a lot happy that I'm here. Yeah. And that's the main thing. And that I can live life with them and we're happy. So it's better to focus on that.
Absolutely. And you talked about medication, because a lot of people fear medication, really. But often, sometimes it's needed just to get you through a certain period of time. What was your journey through medication?
So I got diagnosed, after that, when I was like 21, they put me on sertraline, high dosage, and then once I spoke to a psychologist privately, I realised that it was actually like a combatant for OCD, which she pretty much said that I had. So I was like, right, okay. And it has always stabilised my mind. The only thing I get sometimes is that I feel like my moods, if I was on it consistently, my moods could never get too high or too low, but then I felt quite numb sometimes, which then led me to go out partying more or whatever else. Whereas now I'm at a point with it where I still have sertraline, I have a lowest dosage, but I probably, because I'm getting, what I wouldn't want to happen is, I've done it once before, where I came off cold turkey without like speaking to a doctor, and I started hallucinating and things.
Oh my word.
In my sleep. I woke up. So what I would say is, if you're going to do that, speak to a professional first.
Yeah.
But I think that might be something, but I'm all for it because it has helped me and it's got me through bad times, definitely has. It sort of stabilises your mood, like an imbalance in chemicals in your brain. Yeah. Which I probably needed because I've caned alcohol and whatever else since 17, so it sort of like stabilises your head.
And now, because you're quite, you're not afraid to talk about it now, are you?
No.
I mean, I've seen on social media and things, you know, it's part of your identity almost.
Yeah.
So do you talk to your mates now about how you're feeling? And
yeah, they are. Luckily, I've got absolutely amazing friends. Like, I grew up in Bolton-upon-Dean, the village, mining village. Everyone goes out, gets drunk, and just don't talk about their feelings. That's not what blokes do. And I had a lot of alcohol acquaintances who I used to go out and get drunk with them from 17 to 24. I moved away from that, but I have got a good set of really, really good friends that are like my family, that will just support me. Whatever's the best for me. They'd rather me not be. So basically, when I was in Park Hill, I lived at Park Hill in Sheffield before I met my girlfriend, and I was earning good money but going out getting drunk all the time, taking drugs, buying stupid cars, and my friends that really cared about me knew that I probably weren't happy deep down, and they've all told me that now. But all this bravado was, and everyone around me, oh yeah, But it's all a load of rubbish. Like, they don't care whether I don't drink, whether I don't go out, whether I don't do anything, as long as I'm happy. Because they're good mates. So they will ask how I'm doing and how my mindset is and whether I am generally all right or just, I'll just say like I am. But they can tell, so.
That's brilliant. I don't know if you've seen, I like always have to get across this 8 minutes mate thing. Have you heard about that?
What is it?
So it's not something I've come up with. I came across it on a Facebook post, I think it was. And basically, everybody should have an 8 minutes mate. And what it is it's code for I need help now. So you identify somebody within your friendship circle that you would be able to message or call and just put, have you got 8 minutes? And that instantly allows that person receiving the message to know, oh shit, this is serious. This isn't, are you all right? How you doing? Or, it's like, I need 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So what you do is you instantly call that person. And it's obviously not 8 minutes. It's often, the last one I had was an hour and 10 minutes. But through that time, we'd obviously got from, I want to take my own life, to, oh, all right then,
What we're doing at weekend.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And so I'm advocating for everybody to be an 8 minutes mate for somebody else, but then also to have your own 8 minutes mate.
That's what I mean. Thankfully, I've probably got 3 or 4
Amazing.
that I could ring. Because
you're used to saying that maybe now. You're used to maybe ringing somebody and saying, I need help. Whereas Ozzy's having a bit of a whine and a moan because he's seen some dogs outside and he's got FOMO. But for a lot of people, that code almost is massive.
Yeah. I think probably, though, I'm more comfortable with it now. Now I've been through this sort of like attempt in August and they're all at the hospital. I think now, not that they weren't before, they always were, but I wouldn't have been as open. Whereas now, I just know that I could pick up the phone and they'd be fine. No matter what's going on in life, they'd be like, Dad's yours, mate, what's up?
And that's just like brilliant, isn't it? And that's what we all need.
Yeah, 100%.
We all need that, but without because, I once alerted my husband a couple of years ago to the fact that I was feeling depressed. And, from that minute on, it became, are you all right? Are you all right? And that's kind of hard as well, and it's quite suffocating.
It's hard to explain to people because it's so hard to talk about. Mental health is such a fragile thing because you could be feeling amazing and people are going, you're all right. But then there's also time limits where people might stop asking you and you're like, actually, am I all right? But you don't want them to suffocate you at the same time. It's sort of strange because it's not like you don't want people to ask if they just care. But you don't want them to not be themselves around you and step on eggshells. It's
Exactly.
like you just want them to be normal.
Yeah.
And it's like you become you're on life support almost. Like you're just there as a carer and you just want them to be themselves around you. But I understand it from their perspective as well because they love you and care about you, don't they? So.
Yeah. And I think it's also about the language as well and using the words. We were talking earlier about the name of the podcast, weren't we? But, I think a lot of people, to be able to ask the question to somebody, are you feeling suicidal? I think it's just so alien to some people. They wouldn't be able to ask it.
But you should. I think I agree with you. I'm completely on that.
Have you ever been asked that prior to you actually attempting?
No. No, not only when I was in hospital. And speaking to professionals, they're the people that say, are you still feeling suicidal? But I'd never been asked it before, by anyone. It was only at that point. And it's strange because if someone asked you that, you'd probably, and if you said yes, then they'd be like, right, okay, what's going on? Talk to me.
Yeah.
And then you'd get over it.
Yeah.
You'd get past it.
It's like, again, it's like giving somebody permission to talk about it. And certainly whenever I've asked, you can almost physically see somebody's shoulders lower because they're like, oh my God, I don't have to feel ashamed or guilty.
Weight's lifted.
Yeah, that I'm having those thoughts. But so what about for you now? I mean, it's not like a switch, you just turn it off.
No.
Or, you know, how do you still have days where you feel suicidal, or have you now got the tools, or what?
I've not had a day now feeling suicidal for months and months and months. Like, when I came out of hospital, there were still days like the odd day where I come out of hospital and I'm like, oh no, I'm still a burden to everyone, I'm just a shit show, there's just nothing here that's... But now it's like past. I've just made a lot of changes, like I've just stopped drinking altogether, which has been massive for me because I've probably drank since I was 17.
Did you just wake up one day and decide that you weren't going to
No.
drink? Oh.
So I was just going on these random binges. Because I changed my job to become a full-time musician, I love doing it, I was just constantly surrounded by alcohol. And I'm like quite a giddy person anyway, so... And I'm impulsive, so I just couldn't say no, and then one would lead to two, and two would lead to 16. So I just decided to just... One day I went out on a Thursday, and my girlfriend needed me that day, really, because she went from stuff with her family, and I just got hammered in a pub and just didn't really think about the consequences. It was just really selfish, and but I felt like I wasn't in control of doing it. Which I'd never do sober. I'd always put her first above everything. So I was like, it's not me. I don't like the person I'm becoming, and I'm just trying to mask whatever it is going on. And now I've realised that I probably did. Like, we talked about my dad a lot at the beginning, but it's still like there. I still have like dreams about him and stuff like that. PTSD dreams, where it's like I'm 4 again and it's all happening, and it's like really realistic. So this how my brain works. Like, if I have a bad day, I got to a point where I wasn't enjoying drinking anymore, but it was becoming like a thing to just deal with things if I had a bad day, or I wasn't feeling great about something, or things weren't going my way. So I just sort of decided after that day to stop drinking. I've done like 61 days now.
That's brilliant.
And everything, like, that's one of the main changes. I'm a lot more open with people, and just like, I just sort of think I'm quite lucky to have a second chance almost, and like, it sounds so cheesy, but just like, be happy to be able to use my eyeballs and my ears and taste food and walk.
Yeah.
Cause I think, and I do a lot of like, not a lot, but I do meditate sometimes as well, and I do a lot more reading, which I never used to do. So they're all things that I do which I never used to do, and coincidentally I'm really happy. And also, obviously, quitting my job and doing music full time, which is massive.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us a bit about what's in your world now, Daz. What's happening
Very
in your
different
life?
to getting up to go to an office job at 8 in the morning. But I'm a full-time musician, so I'm bringing out music constantly, gigging.
I just have to say that for those who can't see his mouth moving, he is saying musician, not magician.
Honestly,
Sounds a bit like magician.
I can't say
I've got this
musician.
vision.
Musician.
Yeah. I've got this image of you doing like magic tricks though, but yeah, musician.
My girlfriend laughs at me all the time.
Does she?
When I say musician, she goes, musician, not magician.
Yeah, but you're a full-time musician now.
Singer-songwriter. Oh,
Yeah.
no, not me too over then. I've just released my first track of this new sort of journey, because I used to have a band and it was all indie rock music, but now it's more like folk, storytelling. Because when I decided to do this full-time, I went busking in Sheffield and under like a little bridge with some nice like reverb, and just wrote loads of songs. So I'm going to use them on the album, which will be 2027. I've been booked to play Why Not Festival, which is like the biggest festival I've played so far. I'm doing a challenge of writing a song a day until I reach 1 million followers.
I've listened to quite a few of those. I think that's amazing. I love seeing you in different settings as well.
Yeah, I'm going busking a couple of times a week. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I usually play 4 times in a weekend. Busk if I want to for a week, or if I want to go and play a round of golf that day instead, I will. I will go walking or whatever. So it's amazing. I wish I did it sooner, to be honest.
Yeah.
But here we are. It's all good. I'm still young.
And you've got quite a few gigs coming up as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got about 10 this month. I've probably got actually about 10 every month now until end of the year. And then the main ones are Why Not Festival, Mozfest in June, and Britfest in July. It's like got UB40 on Razorlight,
Wow.
people like that. So yeah, it's all going well.
Yeah. So you can check out on his Facebook page as well. And because I know you've got some in Leeds, Doncaster.
Yeah,
Sheffield.
Hucknall, Sheffield, Barnsley, Leeds, Doncaster. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Tawdy, Yorkshire, and a little bit of Chesterfield. Derbyshire, sorry.
Yeah. And also, it is quite funny to watch your song a day. So if anybody wants to watch those, the last one I saw was about McDonald's and the Golden Arches, which you know, I get.
That's the only vice I can't resist now.
I can't go past the Golden Arches without wistfully wanting, yeah, exactly.
But it always makes me feel worse afterwards.
Oh, yeah, well, let's not go there. The initial is always good. But, yeah, so if anybody, I mean, you're just on Facebook as Daz Cadwallander, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
Instagram as well.
Just my unfortunate big name.
It is a long name, yeah. But it's different.
Yeah, there's only one of me, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Not just in character, but just in name as well.
Yeah, you should see. You'll be able to see the photo, but he's got his flat cap on, which is always nice in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And of course, our tea was Yorkshire tea.
It was a lovely tea, that, by the way.
As you'd expect. Thank you. So thank you very much for joining me in the camper van today, and it's been lovely to hear your journey, and in such an open and honest way as well. So, cheers, Daz.
Thank you very much.
It starts with an itch and a tingle, and then it builds and expands. And suddenly, all at once, my legs won't let me stand. I scratch till my fingers go numb.